So let's start the webinar. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. Today, we are going to discuss how to elevate the financial processes with intelligent automation. And in the process, we are going to see how to automate account payable processes in less than 30 minutes. So before starting, let me just introduce myself and Rishabh. So hi everyone, my name is Dhanashri and I'm the product marketing manager at Ninobits. And I'll let Rishabh introduce himself.
Hey, hi everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar. I'm Rushabh and currently a product manager on the NanoNets OCR platform, and excited to show all you folks the demo that we have on how you can build AP automation workflows on NanoNets.
Correct. Awesome. So, with that, let me just give you a glimpse of how our next 30 minutes will look like. So, we'll start with why do you actually need AP automation? And after that, we'll actually have a live demo of NanoNets, which will be given by Risha. And we'll follow that by a short case study and we'll open the floor for Q&A. We would request everyone to please use the chat if you want to communicate with us or send us any suggestions or any questions if possible. All right, so let's jump right into the webinar. So why do you actually need AP automation? So every business, no matter how small or big, needs to regulate finance and accounting. Why? Because finance and accounting processes, they are critical to the organization. They let you know all about how much cash is going out and how much cash is going in. While these processes are very critical to your organization, they are mostly manual, tedious, and repetitive in nature. Is it true? Let us take a look if these processes are actually manual or it's just, our thoughts. So, according to the accounts payable network, 80% of invoices that organizations receive, they still arrive on paper. That means that the process is paper based in some aspect. And if you actually take a look at the study conducted by Deloitte, it says that 48% of like finance team actually spend 48% of their time collecting data and updating the data, consolidating the data. That's like a huge waste of their time because they are the ones with the insight and they should be contributing to generating insights from the data rather than collecting them and consolidating them. So like if we actually take the top 5 processes that take most of the time in finance, we see that they are actually manual in nature. They have a lot of manual aspects like closing and reconciliation, data consolidation, accounts payable, accounts receivable, planning and budgeting. If we see, these processes actually have the people actually collect data from siloed data sources. They have manual data entry and manual data mapping from multiple documents. And there are many paper based approval processes and reimbursement processes which take up a lot of time, lead to less visibility. Now that there I said it, but do we? Is that really the case? So if your processes are working really fine, you don't really need to change them, right? But is that the case? Let's take a look. Manual data processing is actually an error-prone process. Because of manual data entry, 69% of time people have delayed in reporting. 55% of time they actually see high errors in their reporting. And due to this fact, 60% of time finance leaders actually do not trust the data they are given by their teams in the first glance. They ask them to look again. So, how do we change this scenario? How do we change this scenario where manual processes actually lead to delays, increased cost, and reduced productivity? By the webinar title, you would know the answer. The answer is accounts payable automation. So, how does account payable automation actually alter the finance processes? Let's take a look. Here is a side-by-side comparison of the performance of the companies using AP automation versus the ones which don't. And we see that the difference between their metrics, all the metrics that are mentioned here, we can see that the difference between the metrics is the key to improved savings and performance. This data is taken from Ardent Partners 2022 study, and we can see that at every metrics, let it be the cost to process an invoice, the time to process an invoice, the invoice exception rate, the invoice using straight through processing, even the something like suppliers with e-invoices and staff time is much better when you're using something like AP automation software versus when you're doing it manually. Now, let's try to run a very short poll and see how many financial documents or how many invoices you process every month. So I'm just gonna send across a poll, and I would just request you guys to share the answers to it. Awesome. So we've received the polls, and we see that most of like some of it's like equi-distributed. It's crazy. So yeah, let's try to actually look at the numbers. Let's try to consider, suppose if you have around 1,000 invoices per month, like if you're processing 1,000 invoices per month, what would be your cost and what would be your time to process these 1,000 invoices per year? And let's try to compare them when you're using manual processes and when you're using AP automation software. And you can actually see that if we consider 1,000 invoices per month, if you are processing them using an AP automation software, you are actually saving 79% of the cost, and you are processing the same invoices in less by saving around 72.27% of time. So I think when you see the absolute difference, it actually gives you a whole new perspective. So now that we have established, having said that, so now that we have established that leaders like yourself, you should actually invest in AP automation. Now, let me introduce you to our solution here, NanoNets. So NanoNets actually simplifies AP automation for you and your company with intelligent workflows. So what does it actually do? So in case of accounts payable processes, you can automate every aspect of accounts payable process, basically from uploading documents, automatically extracting information from these invoices, sales, purchase orders, performing rule based actions like invoice matching, automating paper-based processes like approvals, and also syncing your data with your pre-existing business software. So that's not an issue for us because NanoNet actually integrates with 5,000 plus apps. So yeah. And apart from that, NanoNets is actually trusted by 5,000 plus enterprises, and it boasts over 10K users around the world who are using NanoNets to automate some or the other kind of manual processes. And we are also rated quite high on B2B platforms like G2 and Capterra. It's rated 4.9 out of 5. So having said that, giving a short introduction of NanoNets, we'll move on to see in great detail how to actually implement AP automation using our platform. So handing over to you, Rishabh.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Dhanashri. And yeah, let's hop into the demo. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen of our platform. And awesome. So the screen's been pulled up. All right. So our platform is, you can sign up today. It's hosted on app.nanonets.com. You can head over to our website at nanonets.com, sign up and start using it right away. We have a free plan and a pro plan. You can check out our pricing as well on nanonets.com/pricing. It's a completely transparent self-serve pricing model that we have that lets you set up workflows. So once you sign up onto our platform, um, essentially we have a few pre-built extractors, which is say common use cases across our customers. We have pre-built AI data extractors for those type of documents. So they could be invoices, tables, receipts, purchase orders, passports, etc. Our most common use cases on our platform are invoices and receipts. We see that they're primarily when folks look for data extractors for invoices and receipts, they're for two primary use cases. For invoices, it's AP automation, and which is essentially, say I work with a bunch of vendors. How do I make sure that my order to pay, the number of days that I take from when the vendor raises an invoice to paying them is smooth as possible? And for receipts, it's mainly expense management, which is I have a bunch of employees at my company and they have expenses that they need to comp. They have the receipts for them. How do I automate this entire process? So for today's demo, I'll be looking into our invoice extractors, and on top of that, we have what we call as the AP automation or accounts payable workflows that we let folks create. So once you sign up, you can head over and click on this card and you will be taken into the AP workflow. So I've loaded a couple of files today in order to show you how our platform works. So before I get into, say, a demo of the files, let me just explain what we mean by workflows at a very high level. So when it comes to AP automation, the primary two things that we've seen are extremely problematic are the data entry, which is, okay, I've received this email from my vendor. I need to key this into my accounting software. And the second part, the second biggest pain point is approvals. Okay, as the accounting manager, the controller on the AP team, I have to go around and chase. I have a certain financial process. I have to go around for the approvals from the various department heads. If the invoice if the amount on the invoice exceeds $5,000, I need further approval from someone on the team. So those rules that are basically there as your financial process in your organization. So the data entry and the approvals are what we've seen are the difficult parts. So that is what we've aimed to simplify with our workflows, with our AP workflow product. So let me show you what that looks like. So let's say you have an invoice received from your vendor. You can today upload it to our platform via email, via API, even manually. Just come over here and upload it. And you can see that, okay, we extract, say, around 47 to 50 fields that you're looking to extract. Like the invoice, when it comes to an invoice, there's basically the header, the line items, and the footer. So that's the information that we extract. The header primarily contains the buyer information, the seller information, some information about the invoice. If you have POs and goods receipt notes, in order for two-way or three-way matching, then the PO numbers, and then the line items. This is completely automated and out of the box. So this is where our AI-powered solutions come in, and you don't need we don't use templates or say we don't memorize. You every time you have a new vendor, you don't have to come and create a new template for that vendor. Our models extract the data out of the box. So this is with regard to the data entry part that we've aimed to solve. And these were the main pain points that we saw from users, especially in finance teams with regard to invoice data extraction. So what I did currently is I went ahead and uploaded a file, and let's just see the extraction on that file. So this is an invoice. It's from the UAE, and you can see that our model has never seen this invoice before, and this is the extraction. So these are the fields that we've extracted, and these are the line items that we've extracted. I'll just expand the table. So yeah, these are the line items. It's a 2-page invoice, so it spans across pages, and we have line items on the second page as well, and the footer information, like say this, the subtotal, the total, the tax, etc. We also have checks that make sure that the subtotal plus the taxes on the invoice should be equal to the total, the sum of the line items. Basic AP checks, the quantity into the price should be equal to each subtotal, stuff like that. So that's already built into our data extraction layer. So now once this is done, it comes to how do I essentially set up my entire AP process on NanoNext. So what we've created for that is a document workflow flow product, and we've broken it into 5 steps. One is your import, which is where your documents lie. Are they in Salesforce attachments? Are they email attachments? Are they in Google Drive, Dropbox? We have a bunch of options that you can integrate from. Once you've configured the import, we come to your extractor, which is what is the data that you're looking to extract. In invoices, it's a solved problem on NanoNext, and you won't have to do any configuring of the fields. Now, once the data is extracted, we also need to enhance it. What do I mean by that? Say in the AP automation process, the most basic things that you have to do are, say, certain number checks and say 2-way or 3-way matching, which is I have a purchase order on the invoice. Can you look up my database and make sure that the data on my purchase order matches the data on the invoice? Or let's say I have a goods receipt note. Can we make sure that there's a 3-way match now, that the invoice, the receipt note, the GRN, and the purchase order match? So this is the section where you can come ahead and do this. How do you do that? So you can look up, essentially you can look up your softwares or even your databases or your CSV files. Let's say your PO information is in QuickBooks or Salesforce, or even you could manually update a CSV file with your PO information. So you go ahead and update that, and you let us know that, okay, here is where my PO information is, and this is, we'll take care of the 2-way matching for you. And say once you've imported the data, you've extracted the data, you've enhanced the data, the last part, actually the penultimate part, is the approvals. Okay, what do I need to make sure? What are my financial processes in my organization? So what we provide is you can set up these rules on your platform. Let's say I have a rule that essentially says that, okay, I want all invoices over $5,000 should be reviewed by my manager. So I come over here, I set up this rule. I choose, okay, this is an invoice amount, and I want to apply a numeric check that if the invoice amount is greater than equal to $5,000, I need someone to manually approve it. So you can set up these rules. You can also set up multiple stages. So let's say your first check are your general checks, which is, say, folks in your organization who are uploading the data, just making sure that the uploaded data is correct. Next checks could be, okay, are the 2-way and 3-way matching successful? Are the prices within a certain threshold from the PO and the invoice? And the last check could be, say, the one that I just showed you, that, hey, the invoice amount is greater than $5,000. I need someone else to review it. So you could codify these checks, or let's say certain accounting managers work with certain vendors. So all of those sort of approvals that have to be done for an invoice can happen through our platform over here. And the last step is, okay, all of these steps in my AP process are done. Now I need to export this information to my accounting software in order to make the payment. And we've seen that through the customers that we've worked with. There's 4 primary accounting softwares. There's Sage, there's QuickBooks, Sage, Xero, and NetSuite that folks work with. And say larger ERPs also. In that case, it could be CRMs or ERPs. It could be Salesforce. It could even be Yardi and SAP. So we provide integrations out of the box for most of these large accounting softwares. And all you need to do is just authenticate it and let NanoNext take care of the rest. So this is a demo that I have that, okay, I have my QuickBooks account. All right, I only want to write data to QuickBooks once my team has manually approved it. And I want to write it at a document level. And once this is set up, you're good to go. And this is essentially you connecting your entire AP process back with QuickBooks. Say one example is, we had an organization that we worked with. They were, say, 7-figure spends a year, and they were manually entering about 30 to 40 invoices a day. And even if you take, say, it takes 10 minutes to key in an invoice, most of their time was spent, say, 2 full-time accounting managers just doing data entry into QuickBooks. And that's the process we simplified for them. And also the approvals, say, chasing folks around in your organization, and also interfacing with your vendors at one side and internal folks at the other side. So those 2 pain points are solved via our document workflow process. Yeah, and a few other things that I'd like to cover in this demo. This say this what we call is our review screen. This can also be, say, shown to folks at your organization if they need to check it, review it, etc. These integrations work. So let's say you send an email with a vendor invoice. We can essentially send the correct person an email with a link to this, and all they have to do is open it, check it if everything is correct, submit it to the next stage for review. So this goes to now stage 2. Stage 2, the person in stage 2 will do these checks again. They can come to this view with a single click, open it in their browser, and keep pushing the file. And once the stages are done, you'll see that the file gets manually reviewed and approved. Yeah, so once files are manually approved, they can, say, flow downstream into your AP process. So that's the primary demo that I had to show about our document workflows and how AP automation can be solved via our document workflows product. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen and then hand over, say, the stage back to Dhanashri.
Thank you, Rishabh. That was really a great demo. It gave you a great insight into, how the platform could be used to automate the manual aspects of accounts payable processes at fraction of cost. So it's like one-time effort, and then it's like automated for forever. All right. So I would like to demonstrate the savings that you can expect using NanoNets using one example of one of our clients, Augio. So the Augio team was actually manually processing 3,000 plus invoices per month. So what they were doing is they were getting all of these invoices one by one. They were manually scanning the invoices, extracting the data, putting it into their CRM Salesforce. Now, for this particular activity itself, they were spending over 4 hours daily. Now, when they actually used NanoNets, they used automated workflows to automate every aspect of this entire process. So basically, sourcing the invoices from their mailboxes or any other data source. Then they actually created an AI model like Rishabh showed us, which is already pre-trained. So you don't actually have to do anything over there. So it automatically extracted the data points that they required. And it was already, after verification, after approvals, after checking for all the rules that they require, the data was automatically updated in Salesforce. and the time that they spend on a daily basis came from 4 hours to around 30 minutes. And this 30 minutes was to check invoice details and approve the flagged invoices. And now they are using nanonets to process over 36,000 invoices for one of their clients on autopilot. So they have set it on autopilot, and all they have to do is just spend a little bit of time to check the flagged invoices. So I think you can also use nanonets to automate data entry and to save time and effort required in this manual processes. So just automate altogether. And we don't want you to think of nanonets just as another software, another OCR software, or another AP automation software. But we actually want to be the partners in your accounts payable transformation journey. So from the time that you start using nanonets, our team can actually help you through every stage to get to whatever accuracy and whatever productivity, whatever efficiency that you need to actually automate your manual processes. And just to give you a snapshot of performance, some of our clients, most of our clients, which have used nanonets, have seen these kind of performance improve. Uh, so they've seen around 80% reduction in their accounting costs due to reduction in manual data entry. They have seen 3 to 5x ROI in a period of 3 months. They have seen 90% reduction in manual data entries with over 95% OCR accuracy. All right. So with this, we open the floor to question and answers. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Okay. We have received one. So, how do you manage errors? So, Rishabh, can we pick them up?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good question. So when it comes to errors, say in invoice ingestion, um, there's a couple. Let's say it's general. Let's say the first errors that could be on the invoice would be the numeric checks, which is the subtotal plus the taxes equal to the total? Do the line items match the subtotal? Is the quantity into price equal to each of the subtotals of each line item? So those are inbuilt checks in our AP workflow model. We do this out of the box. Now, say if there is an error, this is say one example of error, which is that literally the data on the invoice is wrong. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen again. Yeah. So if the data on the, say in this example of error, the data in the invoice was wrong, what you will see is we'll show you on our screen that, hey, there's a validation error. You'll get an email notification as well to the person who has to look into it. And you can also say filter, okay, I've uploaded say 100 invoices to Nanonets today. I just want to check the ones that have errored out. So you can search for it, see the ones that have errored out over here. Once you open it up, you'll see that, okay, the reason why this errored was that the subtotal plus the tax is not equal to the invoice amount on the invoice. So that was the error on this invoice, and you'll be able to see this, that okay, these were the basic errors. The other was say a numeric check again. Correct them if you need to, or flag it, reject the file or dispute the file, and go ahead. The other types of errors that I'll just get a little more in depth is let's say in the AP, in the invoice ingestion process, I want to compare the PO number on the invoice. So the PO number was extracted over here. I'll just zoom into the document because it's a little grainy. I extracted the PO number in the invoice, but I didn't find any PO number in my database. I didn't find it either in my accounting softwares, on Xero, on Sage. So that again becomes an error that you can set up. on your model that, okay, the two-way matching process, the lookup, let's say I'm going to look up a CSV file. This is just for an example, but you could look up a software as well. And let's say that I want to compare the invoice number that we extracted on, assume that, say, this is a PO number, and I want to make sure that it's found. And if it's not found, then I can flag this as an error. So these are the basic examples of how errors work on our platform. You get notifications, you can filter by them, and they're assigned to the right person in the organization. All right. Should I go through the questions, Dhanashri?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So Puneet has asked, does this also capture data from the manual invoices? Yes, it does. We capture from handwritten invoices as well. Let me again very quickly pull up an example of us working with handwritten invoices that we've never seen before. All right, so this is an example of a handwritten invoice that I have. You can see that, okay, these are manual invoices. I'm hoping that that's what you meant by manual, Puneet, and please correct me if I'm wrong. You can see how grainy 4344 was over here, but we still extracted as the invoice number. You can see the handwriting over here. I'll just pull up. This is pretty good handwriting. The thumb of rule is if a human can read it, our OCR can read it. So you can see this was red grapes, Egypt, and we read it, or Valencia oranges. We got a little bit wrong over here. We read orange as add-ons, but you get the point that we can work with handwriting to a very good extent, like seedless mandarins. And even these numbers, this was 240, we've read it correctly. So that's how we work with manual data as well. So Shiva asked about, and I'm sorry if I've pronounced the name incorrectly, Shiva, about the invoice payment process. So we do have a product that we are launching very soon that will help with the payment process as well. So it will essentially allow you to connect your bank account and start paying your vendors through NanoNets as well. We're just rolling out our Stripe and Plaid integrations for that. So you will, we'll send out an email once that is live, but that's also something we're rolling out. Yeah. So Colette has asked, are there reports? We currently are building out our reporting module, but currently, say, you can find out reports as in the number of pages you've processed, the amount of time we are saving you, the amount of time it's taking you to approve an invoice, etc. So that reporting is built in. The other type of reporting, which is, say, I want category-based reports. How much am I spending on R&D? How much am I spending on my cloud costs? If, let's say, I was using NanoNets and I'm a tech company. So that reporting module we are currently building out. Tamika Lang has asked, are there restrictions on what type of services the company provides? Example, cannabis? That is a good question. It depends on the legal jurisdiction. We, as such, won't have a problem working with, say, SMB businesses. We are also, say, US-based, Delaware-based company headquartered out of San Francisco. With regard to exact restrictions, this would be more that you could head over to legal.nanonets.com or get in touch with someone from our team, and then we can hopefully figure the best path forward. All right. And Adnan has asked, I want to ask if this is just an invoice booking or complete P2P procure to pay process. and how are we going to knock invoices against payment? So, great question. Say with our AP automation, we have essentially an AP process. The last part, obviously, in the AP process is getting your payments done. And for that, we integrate with your most common accounting softwares, because our main feedback from companies was okay, we already have this multi-year locked-in contract with NetSuite. Can you integrate with us? Because, okay, these are large legacy softwares. They do have their problems, but we still are locked into our contracts. Can you help us with our pain points? Let's say data entry, approvals, two-way matching, three-way matching. So that's the reason why, say, we integrate with these large accounting softwares, and QuickBooks isn't even that large. It could be for SMBs as well. And with regard to payments, that's a module that we are currently building out, and we should be rolling it out this quarter. So we will mention that. We will send out an email, or and you can make sure to follow us up for updates. Can multi-currency payments be handled? The answer is yes. Multi-currency payments are handled. So obviously, most businesses today, you work with international vendors. You could be paying folks, and they could be sending you their invoices in their local currencies. So you're working with Chinese vendors, you're working with Americans, dollars, say, or even vendors basically say, these invoices in the yen, in dollars, in the euro, in the pound. We do integrate with that. We can find out the currency on the invoice and take that into account in the integrations with QuickBooks, NetSuite, Xero, Sage, etc. So yes, we do handle that. All right. Nikos, what is the cost? Is the annual fee? Okay, good question. We aim to be completely transparent over here, unlike, say, a lot of other players in this market. Our pricing, what we aim to do is simple and transparent. We have a freemium that is free forever. With it, obviously, you can only process 100 pages a month, but it gives you a feel of the product. And we don't want to say get you into a POC before you try out anything. You want to make sure that the product works for you, and then you pay for it. Our pricing starts at $499 a month, and this includes everything that I showed you, and it should cover most of the things that you want to do, especially at, say, processing between 500 to, say, 2,000 invoices a month. This is the tier that you want to go for, which is, it starts at $499 a month, and it includes processing 5,000 invoices a month. We do have enterprise plans. These are more catered to, say, the security aspects. So we could deploy on-prem, we could have SSO, we give you dedicated account managers, we build out customizations for you on those plans, etc. So that's with regard to pricing. Adnan asks, can we integrate with Oracle? If by Oracle you mean Oracle NetSuite, the answer is yes. We do integrate with NetSuite out of the box. If there's an Oracle, which is, say, like a CRM or an ERP, the answer to that would be yes again, but it would require, like, let's say, some development from our end or your end. You could either hire a systems integrator who can do this integration with NanoNext, or you can do it. But essentially, we provide a lot of APIs, and our entire UI that I showed you is built on APIs that we've exposed ourselves. So you can head over, if you're technical, then you can head over to nanonext.com/documentation, integrate those APIs, and integrate with Oracle. All right. Yeah, Puneet asked, what is the turnaround time from implementation to go live typically? That's a great question. So, say from the day that you have decided to use NanoNext as your AP workflow solution, we typically, I think we've seen customers, and this is, say, our examples working with, say, 500 plus customers, is that the steady state happens between 2 to 6 weeks, depending on your processes. Which is, by steady state, I mean, you don't have to configure things on your model. You've set up your approval rules. They're working correctly. You're just using NanoNets on autopilot. So that phase is between 2 to 6 weeks, realistically. All right. And question from Christian: can we add additional information to the bills/sellers information? For example, our cost center, which is not mentioned on the invoice, or the cost account we are using NetSuite. Yes, absolutely. So just going to go ahead again, share my screen. So when you think about a workflow, a document workflow, you first need to import your documents, you extract the data from your documents, then you enhance the data on the documents. And that's exactly some of the examples that you described, which is, can you pull out the cost account from NetSuite? Could you pull out the seller ID or the vendor ID from the seller name from NetSuite? Yes, we can do all of those things. We can essentially say, look up your QuickBooks, Salesforce, NetSuite, find that additional information that you're looking for. And if you're technical, we could also say you could write the Python code, like if they have an exposed API, and pull that information and enrich the data on your invoice. Like, can you pull up the PO number and all the details and put that data onto the invoice? Yes, we can. And it will start showing up over here so that your accounting team can essentially find out, okay, all this information has been pulled from the various places they're sitting in, like NetSuite, my databases, and these are good to go. Like, for example, on this invoice, although we extracted the supplier name, the seller name as Creative Zone FZ LLC, the actual supplier on your accounting software was just called Creative Zone. So we've intelligently matched that. We've also been able to intelligently pull your categories. This is a QuickBooks example, but we've pulled the categories and enrich the information using this. So yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I think there's no other questions from anyone else. So Dhanashri, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rishabh, for clearing out all of the doubts. And thank you guys. If you still have any more questions, feel free to reach us out. All right. So with this, thank you all for joining this webinar. We'll send the recording in your inboxes, and you can send us your any questions that you have as a reply to that question too. Now, for the next step, you can actually go to NanoNet's website and try NanoNet's free trial. I'm actually sharing a link right now, which will actually help you start your free trial on NanoNets. And you can also book a call with us, and we can help you set up and we can start our journey together. So we hope you enjoyed the session as much as we did. Thank you for your time and have a great day.
Everyone for attending, and if you want to brainstorm document workflow solutions or discuss how NanoNets could help you, or what are your pain points, and if there's any features, etc., I'm more than happy to talk and say get on a call. I absolutely love talking to customers or potential users and seeing how our solutions can help you. So yeah, thank you, and have a nice day and or evening, whichever part of the world you're in.